Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So this video here is part 1 on the spot repair on this Range Rover Sport. So as you'll be able to see in a minute, we've just got a little bit of damage on the left hand rear door, and the job is for a car yard, as you probably noticed just before on screen. So we've got to keep the job as small as possible. First stage is obviously to inspect the damage, find out whether or not it's just a scrape or a scratch, or whether you've got a low spot there, like a dent or something like that. As it turns out on this job, there was a slight low spot there, so I decided to get a bit of 320 grit to start off with, give that a bit of a scuff back with the Orbital sander and the soft pad, sand that right back to make sure that there's no corrosion on the metal or rust if it's steel. I'm pretty sure these panels may even be aluminium, but don't quote me on that one. I can't really remember offhand. You would be able to quickly figure that one out by getting a magnet and putting it onto the panel. But yeah, so just buzzing it back right back to bare metal, and then I'll just be putting a bit of fine filler over it. I'll do my best to keep you guys interested the entire video. This video has actually been sitting in my video editor for probably about 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've just finally got around to making the narration side of it. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass doing the narration, so this is why I've actually switched over to this new style where I just take it a little bit more relaxed, sit in front of the camera, and if I get bored of talking or don't keep it 100% relevant, I'm not going to be apologising for that. But I will obviously do my best to keep you guys interested the entire way through. So yeah, just what is it? They say 2 to 3% of hardener in your body filler. So you're never really going to actually measure that out by gram or anything. It's one of those things that you just get the hang of over time. I have previously put too much hardener in a couple of times. What can happen there is you'll get bleed through. So you'll prime it up, it'll look all good, you'll paint it, might look fine. 2 or 3 months down the track, that repair will actually come and bleed back through, and you'll be able to see that filler. On the other side, if you don't put enough in, it's just not going to dry. I've done that a couple of times, and I'm like, man, thought I put enough in there, and it's just staying sticky, you know. So yeah, you got to get it pretty right, but you got a little bit of leeway either way, you know. But yeah, on a job like this, I just want to get straight into it. So I've got the heat gun on there. As far as drying times go, I had a question on one of my previous videos saying how long does it take for your filler to dry before you're able to put your primer over it. And usually it's say from 3 to 10 minutes. I guess 10 minutes on a cold day if you're not force drying it. You could probably even get that down to 2 minutes with a heat gun. You know, you cool it down after you finish heating it up, so that'll sort of snap it snap it off, I guess, and yeah, make it go nice and hard for you, and yeah, start sanding as you see here. So I'm using the U-Pol Expert fine filler. As you notice there, like, and I've mentioned in a couple of other videos, that top layer seems to get a bit sticky with this fine filler that I use. Had a couple of people make a couple of mentions in the comments on one of my previous videos that even just say putting a bit of filler dust over the top of it helps, and someone was even saying there's some sort of a solvent that you can wipe over it to actually get rid of that sticky stuff on the top. But yeah, I also made a mention in my previous video that I've been where I used to work back at my own shop. I went back up there to help out a couple of weeks ago, or a month or so ago, and he had some Evercoat Easy Sand. That stuff is awesome, definitely worth a look at, and when this tube of fine filler runs out, that's what I'll be getting to replace it for sure. I highly recommend it. So I blocked that repair down for starters with 180 grit, and I'm going to be finishing it off with 320 grit. It's going to mean less chance of having shrink back and deep sanding scratches coming through later on down the track, and it also probably mean that I won't need to put as many coats of primer to try and fill up those deeper scratches as well. You do have to be careful doing that though, because sometimes if you go too fine with your sandpapers, you can actually take that little bit too much out, and yeah, just give it a bit of a light scuff over with 320 grit, and that's all you usually need. 180 is actually pretty fine to prime over, so I wouldn't panic about priming over 180 grit as long as it's cured properly. So basically, you want the primer to shrink back before you paint it rather than after you paint it, if that makes any sense. So using the infrared curing lights will actually definitely help for that. Sometimes if you leave a job like overnight, without putting the infrared curing lights on it. Might look great that day. You leave it half a week or a week down the track, and it's actually that primer's then started shrinking back into the repair area, and you've got some shrink back. So yeah, always a good idea to infrared cure your primer work if possible. It's not always possible. In the winter it's more necessary. In the summer it's pretty warm and it doesn't seem to shrink back as bad. I mean it shrinks back before you paint it rather than after you paint it. So yeah, obviously just using my masking paper and the large masking paper there. I'm not going to go overboard with the masking on this one. As I did mention before, it's a car yard job. It's the only job in the shop at this point that was getting primed, so it's not like I had a batch of 5 or 6 jobs that there was going to be a lot of primer overspray all through the shop. I was just able to keep it contained to this small area, use the large masking paper, and use low pressure when I'm priming it. I did have a couple of people, or 1 or 2 people, mention in the last video saying that you didn't do your soft edge. So would that make it so that you're going to get a hard edge up against the primer? So you'll see I'm soft edging this spot here, but most of the rest of it I'm not going to bother about soft edging. As long as you stay away from that edge, you're not going to get an edge, and that's pretty basic really. So yeah, I'm just going to be using the UV cured primer. Again, this will be not shrinking back at all. Like, this stuff is totally awesome. I've done a couple of other videos including it. As long as you've got some sun out there, you're usually pretty right with the stuff that we use. There are some other brands like the Axalta one on the market, and supposedly you actually need their specific UV curing light, so the UV rays from the sun won't actually be enough to cure theirs. So obviously worth looking into, asking other people that are familiar with products before you just go and jump into something. But yeah, usually just sort of like 1.5 or 2 coats straight away. You sort of need it to be transparent. If you go and get that so you cannot see through to the repair, then you'll probably actually overload it, and it won't, like the sun's rays won't penetrate through to the bottom and cure it, because this primer here cures through the UV rays. So it's totally amazing stuff, and it dries as hard as a rock. It's actually a bit of a prick to polish. To sand. Like, it's really tough to sand, but I do like to give it a bit of a block back with some 320 grit. I don't seem to go too harsh with it unless it specifically needs it. And if I did need to really fill an area up, I probably wouldn't use it, but if I did, I'd put 2 coats on, or 1.5 to 2 coats on, put it out in the sun, cure it, block it, and then put a couple more coats on, rather than trying to put 4 coats on at once, fill it up, because as I said before, you just will not be able to, the sun won't be penetrating down to the bottom. So yeah, just decided to do my color while I'm waiting. I guess I'm not really waiting for anything at the moment, but yeah, just decided to get that color sorted. So just using the spectrophotometer. When I use the spectro on any solid colors, so whites, reds, anything like that, solid colors without the metallics in it, so no pearls or no metallic or anything in it, I will just do a blind search through the spectro. I won't actually type in manufacturer or paint code or anything like that. If, for instance, I can't remember, I painted this job a little while ago. For all I know, that could be a Lada color, it could be a color off a Mazda, but if it looks right, it looks right. And that, I put a lot of faith in the spectro. I've obviously always checked them. I did put the question out there recently to my European and viewers around the world, and I said, do you guys do color matching? And a couple of Irish people, like this was actually this morning, one Irish guy said that we don't supply the paint, we apply the paint. But we would not get away with that. We don't supply the paint, I guess, but we still apply it, and if you're applying something that's not right, well, it's kind of your fault. That's the way. Yeah, we just simply wouldn't get away with putting the wrong colours on people's cars, just because that's what the formula says. That's just a part of our trade here in Australia, and I think it's a good part to know. Although it is probably one of the more difficult parts of spray painting, very important to know how to colour match, I think. So yeah, that's what I do. So I did this one in base coat, so I've decided not to do it in 2K direct gloss. That gives me a blend, and then I get away with a little bit more on the color, I guess. You know, you can get, say, 95% match, blend it, and it'll look good. Whereas if I was going edge to edge around that whole panel, you'd want sort of like 98, especially on a white. I actually find white's one of the harder colors to match. But yeah, I'd go through stages when a lot of color matching for me can even just be confidence, you know, and sometimes you just get one or two jobs wrong, and if that happens to be a white, you just start losing your confidence and you're standing there and you're second guessing yourself. Whereas when you got that confidence, you can walk straight up to a color and say, nah, that's what that needs, or you can say, nah, I'm confident with that, I can paint that, you know. But yeah, while that color card is drying, which is why I like to actually do the colors before I do the prep, or at the same time. So I'll have that color card drying over in the lamp over in the corner. That way I can do my prep, I can get one or two parts of the prep done, walk back over, check the color. If it needs a little bit more of a tweak, I'll put a little bit of color in, come back over, do some more prep, check it again, and there's no sort of downtime. So that's sort of what one of the things I try to teach to my apprentices. I say, yeah, especially with your solid colors, more so than metallics, because metallics you're spraying it out with base coat and you're doing color cards. So you can just dry that color card in no time because you've sprayed it on. It's only a thin film. But the way that I color match my solid colors, I dunk it in, and it saves you from having to put it in a gun and yeah, do all those spray outs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a good idea to keep in mind that your drying times with those color cards. So if I was to just go and get all the prep work done and then worry about my color, I'd be sitting there waiting for the color cards to dry for 10-15 minutes or whatever it be. Hope that made sense. But yeah, obviously just starting on my prep work, I gave them gave the panels a good clean down with some denatured alcohol or methylated spirits mixed with water, 50-50 mix. And then obviously just went around with the 3/4 inch masking tape or 18mm masking tape and taped up all the edges, just the surroundings, so I'm not going to go and damage it when I'm doing my prep work. And then once that's all done, I've got my awesome little curved block, and using the curved side because it's a bit of a concave area, and the convex block helps you get into that corner quite nice. And as I said, just using a little bit of 320 grit, blocking it sort of each way while checking at the same time, just with your hands, and even just with a little bit of prep sol. If you're not sure if you think it's quite right, you can get a bit of prep sol, and that will give you the emulation of a wet look, like what it's going to look like with the paint on there. I have found though that sometimes, like, you'll look at a panel when you've finished prepping it, and you'll get your prep sol on it, and you might say, oh, that's not quite right. But then by the time you actually get some paint and a little bit of orange peel, it sometimes does throw the eye off. And for work like this is literally a car yard job. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, I would much prefer to paint the entire door, obviously, but it is what it is. I'm an employee at the end of the day. If the boss comes down and tells me to paint the lower section of that door, I don't ask questions. I'm not there to ask questions. I'm there to do a job. If he wants me to mask a molding up, if he wants me to blend, do like a clear blend over a pillar, I'll do it. I've told him that I'd rather not, and he knows that. It's not really, it's not what I'm there to do. I'm not there to argue. I'm there to do a job, and I do it to the best of my abilities with what I've got at the end of the day. So yeah, like the previous couple of videos I've done on a Hyundai i20 of car yard work have been pretty popular. So we do quite a few car yard jobs here, and they're handy for when we're not that busy. They give us something to do, and yeah, we don't make heaps of money off. We're not, I'm definitely not going to retire off them. The boss might, but yeah, there's just sort of a bit of workflow, I guess. And I enjoy doing them. I don't know why. I like the challenge, I guess, But yeah, so when I am color matching with solid colors that I'm doing in clear over base, always clear them because the base coat does actually change with the clear coat. I find that with metallic colors, for some reason, I can just prep sol over that base coat on a metallic, and you'll get a good idea. 99% of the time it'll replicate with prep sol, but with solid colors it actually will change that color. So always put a bit of clear over that base coat. And then yeah, I'm just having a look at this color here, checking it. From memory, it was just a bit of blue and black. As I said, it was a couple of months ago I did it. So yeah, I've actually got this massive, like all this footage, I got it on raw videos. So if enough people say that they want to see it, I can't see any reason I wouldn't be able to upload it over onto my raw channel. So I literally had this camera on me for, yeah, just about the whole time. I think I turned it off in between coats, a base coat and clear coat or something like that. But as far as all the prep work and color matching and all that stuff goes, I do have that footage. So let us know if you're interested in it. But yeah, like the next video is going to mainly be focusing on masking and painting. I think it's around another 17-18 minute video. People still say that they enjoy watching my videos, and I enjoy making them, I guess. You know, sometimes lately my girlfriend is now living with me here in Perth, so sometimes I'm a little bit busy to make them, but I'll do my best to stay up with the one video a week. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one, and make sure you leave a comment down below. Go over and buy a t-shirt of mine, stubby coolers, hats if you'd like to support me. Until the next one, gunners, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.